All right, you guys, welcome back to my channel, Planning Your Corporate Escape. And this is a video that is gonna be a little bit controversial. And I have been wanting to make this video for such a long time, just haven't had time to get around to it and be able to share it with you guys. But I have shared the same strategy with my clients, and I am ready to make this video so that I can share with you guys, and you guys can make the decision if it's something that you want to do and want to pursue, or you just think it's a waste of time at this point in our lives or in our financial plan, if it makes sense to keep doing this. So what I want to go over with you guys today is whether or not college is still a good option for people to pursue bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhDs, and all this advanced education. We do have a lot of more inexpensive ways to get training, certifications, and to gain knowledge globally. Back in the day, we didn't have this option, so I can see why we needed colleges so much. But colleges, they're for-profit. They are extremely expensive. They have went up over 400% to over 1,000% in some cases. And they said is one of the major things that never have gone down, even during recession in our economy. It continues to go up, and it continues to become so astronomically expensive for the average person to go. Even people who are considered the wealthy, not the affluent and not the super wealthy, but I'm talking about just like people who are upper class, middle class, considered to be fairly financially secure, even complaining that colleges have gotten just out of control. It should not cost as much to send your kids to college. I will say, even though this is a video about not going to college or considering whether or not it still makes sense to do it, I would like to say that I did go to college. I made a video called "You Have Nothing to Lose," or "I Have Nothing to Lose," something like that. And please check out that video because it's going to go more into what happened to me after college and, you know, my experience with that. And if I could do it all over again, I probably would not do it because of the financial burden it put on me after college, because I wasn't able to find a job paying me enough to deal with the burden of the college debt. So for people who are in a certain income bracket, if you're lower income, you're coming out of extreme poverty, you didn't grow up with a lot of money, I'm not sure if this is going to make sense for you to go to college. Like I said, it depends on what you want to do with your life. You can go ahead and just do it and go and just try to see. But I think after we review some of this, you may reconsider if it makes sense. I love education. I read every single day. I love to learn. A lot of things I study is finance, accounting, the market, real estate. I have a real estate license. I had a mortgage license, but I didn't use that very often, so I don't have the mortgage license. But I've been selling real estate for many years now, so I made a business and a career out of that after leaving corporate America. But when I look back on what my college degree did for me, I just feel like it really messed up my financial planning goals over the long run, because the jobs, what I went to school for and trying to get a job and trying to move up in the company, I just wasn't able to make as much as I thought I was going to make with the college degree. I actually made more money as a waitress in a top steakhouse. It was a really well-known steakhouse, and I worked there, and I made a lot of money, and I made more money doing that than I did getting a college degree. So I wanted to go over that. What I wanted to first start off with is I wanted to talk about first the jobs that are available if you decide not to go to college. Let's start there. So, of course, there's going to be plenty of jobs and things that I'm just not going to know that's available, because there's just so many opportunities out here in this world. But I found some common ones that we all know about that can help you make a decent income and be able to invest and grow that money. And I'm going to show you how to do that instead of spending all your money and all your time in college. Now, one of the jobs I wanted to talk about was there's just I want to just say, even if you decide to go to college, there's community college and they may have certifications or like maybe 2-year degrees. I find community colleges to be very, very inexpensive. So if you decide to do a community college, that may be the best way to go. But these 4 years and 4-year bachelors and these masters and these PhDs, they're just out of control at most of these major colleges. So colleges right now are costing people about $30,000 to $100,000 to get their degree. And so instead of spending that money and going, and on top of that, if you take out student loans, you're going to pay interest on that. So remember that $30,000 by the time you pay it off might be around $50,000, $60,000. That $100,000 is going to be around $120,000, $150,000 by the time you pay it off. So remember, you're not paying the initial amount you took out. You're going to be paying way more than that because of the interest that's on it. But some of the degrees I found in healthcare, there's positions like dental assistant. I believe that's a 1-year certification. There are like radiologist tech, 1 or 2 years. I believe there's one called LPN for nursing, and that's the same. It's under 2 years. Hearing aid specialist, home health care, things of that nature. Medical coding and billing under a few months training to get the certification under 1 year. These jobs are not going to pay you as much as, getting that bachelor's or that master's, but you're going to save, 4 to 10 years of your life. And I'm going to show you what to do when you save that time. You're going to also be saving a lot of money. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. But these jobs are paying between $35,000 to $60,000, depending on where you are in the United States. Some areas, maybe in New York, may pay you a little more than Texas. So, or California, or if you're in Seattle, Atlanta, Georgia, Florida. So it can range from $35,000 to $60,000 depending on living expenses of your area and how long you've been doing this job. Electricians have an apprenticeship, I believe you have to go through. So you have to probably do that for maybe about, I think it's up to 3 to 5 years or something like that, but you're getting training and paid on a job. And of course, if you work for yourself and you build a nice clientele, you can get over $100,000, $200,000 as an electrician. But most electricians have reported to me working for a company that they're making between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. Of course, like I said, it can go beyond that because electrician is so in demand. I know here where I live, we're in a big city, so we have 6 million homes 6 million homes. They're going to need electrical work throughout the years. And that's just the homes, not even the businesses, because I live in a major city. So there's another job I found, wind turbine, but that job I barely found 5,000 jobs for that, and that's throughout the United States, I believe. So wind turbine jobs, those are jobs you may not be thinking about. That's why I wanted to include it, even though there might not be a lot of jobs available open for it. But that's paying between $40,000 and $70,000 as well. Flight attendant, it used to be a phenomenal job. Like, people dreamed of being flight attendants. It's so prestigious. But flight attendants are reporting, I think there was a 2020 Dateline, one of those major CBS News shows, where they're saying flight attendants do not get paid until the plane actually takes off, but yet you're on standby in the airport, but you're not paid while you're on standby. And some of them have had to take on 2 jobs, even 1 or 2 jobs, even though they're doing flight attendant part-time, and some have even resorted as far as the sex work industry because they weren't making enough as flight attendants. That was a news report done on flight attendants. So it seems like the prestige has gone down a little bit in the pay. And that could be because airlines do lose a lot of money and they do suffer from different economic cycles. So there is a study, some research I've done where owning an aircraft business or owning an airline is actually, it can have some profitable years, but it has a lot of bad financial years for the airline industry. So that could be why their pay never went up with the increase in the increase within the inflation. That's probably why it just never, it is not as lucrative as it used to be. And because I remember there were, years ago, flight attendants were reporting making almost 6 figures and they were doing very well and they loved their prestige of the job. But right now I'm getting averages around $40,000 to $60,000 a year for a flight attendant, but you don't need a degree. Pharmacy tech is around 40K a year. You do need a certification for that. I believe it's under 1 or 2 years. A plumber, same thing as an electrician. You're gonna have to probably get some training. And you're looking at up to 2 to 4 years on a job. But a lot of these jobs, once you get training, and your certifications, you usually can make around 40 to 80K. And of course, like I said, in a big city like my city, that can really go up to 2 to 300K depending on how many clients you have, whether you're doing residential or commercial buildings. CDL drivers, when you get that CDL, a lot of people tell me, always get your CDL because there's always going to be a job for you, especially when you get 1 to 2 years of experience over the road. Then once you get that experience, you can come back locally and find jobs. They said when you're trying to drive locally in most cities, it's kind of hard to get jobs. They do open up, but you may have to do the CDL job, over the road jobs for a while, and then be applying back home wherever your home state is. And then when that job opens up in your city, you quit the over the road job and go to the local driving job. But I know for a lot of truck drivers, they're making between 40 to 120,000, and that's with them working for a company. But once you become an owner operator of that truck, which I have a lot of research on that industry as well, and I don't recommend you run out and just buy your truck. They said don't do that. Don't try to become an owner operator, because the trucking industry has also experienced some really tough economic times as well, because of the gas prices being, let's just say they might be $3 or $4 for diesel in Texas, but then you'll go to California somewhere and there's $7 to $9. So, and then the job being available to these drivers when you're owner operator may not be as many when you're getting started. So drive for a company, get the experience, learn the business first before you run out and just start buying trucks, okay? But let's say you work for a company, like I said, it's gonna be $40 to $100,000 a year. But then once you become an owner operator, people are reporting they're making between $250,000, $500,000 a year once they know the business. Auto mechanics, oh my goodness, we are a driving city in Texas. We cannot, our busing system sucks. We don't have a train system. It sucks. You have to have a car, or you just, and then even if you don't want a car, the heat is so bad out here, you're gonna wish you had a car. So auto mechanics, I can't imagine they're never having work unless they suck at their job. Like if you're really good at auto mechanics, working on cars and restoring cars, fixing cars, anything with cars, and you're looking at 40 to 100,000 a year working for a company. And of course, if you own your own business, you're gonna make maybe $250,000 to $1 million, just depending on how many mechanics work under you and how big is your mechanic business. But being a mechanic is very lucrative, because I know my car has a lot of technology in it, and I remember we couldn't even. There's some cars we lifted the hood up and they were trying to give me a jump on my battery, and we couldn't even find where the battery was. I mean, they're just so confusing these days, some of these cars. So if you know the computer components in these cars, and plus how to work on cars, and then if you know how to restore classic cars, you got a business for life. And especially if you're good at it, you're gonna get word of mouth. You're gonna be busy. And I don't think auto mechanic is not, even as a business, it doesn't seem like, it seems like a business you could start out of your garage. You could start from like a small shop and you can grow. And this is a business I believe you can grow with no debt, because remember, I make my videos on how to start businesses with no debt and trying to stay away from debt and just become a cash flowing business like Apple did and some of these other big companies. Once you're lucrative and successful, you don't need debt, and stop letting people tell you need debt. Construction jobs are also amazing. There's tons of them right now, because every major city I know is growing. So, and some of them will train you on a job and you just move up from there, or you can go to some of these community colleges and get some additional training. And those jobs are reporting 40 to 80,000 a year. But of course, we know that is a very, very sometimes dangerous and very hard job, because you're working in cold weather, you're working in hot temperatures. Customer service. So companies like the Hilton and other hotel chains they have remote customer service jobs paying about $17 to $20 an hour. So you're looking at, with 40-hour work week, you're probably looking at about 35, 40K a year. And then if you get some overtime, you can probably push that up a little bit more, but you're in a 40K a year range. Servers, I used to be a server, I used to be a hostess. I worked front of the house, back of the house in restaurants before I went into corporate America. And I will have to tell you that it is a good business if you can get into a good restaurant, especially where they serve wine and drinks, and you can get your, people are spending a lot of money, and your tips can get really high. you can make between 30 and 80K a year. And I know I'd make good money. I was making really good money at a famous steakhouse I was working at, and I left that job to go into a corporate job, which paid me almost 25,000 less than I was making at the restaurant as a server. And the reason why I did that is because I thought I was going to move up in corporate America and have this higher paying job anyway. So I took that risk, and it never happened. I talked about that in my other videos. So make sure you guys check out those videos, because I go into a lot of stuff that I can't just put all, like, you got to understand, this is over 20 years of experience. I can't just put everything into one video and talk about every single thing. So I'm trying to get all this content out so it can help you guys, and so you can make an informed decision about what's best for your life and what's best for you. But this is why I'm making this video about not going to college, because at that job, my boss said to me, he said, we are expanding. He said, if I was you, I wouldn't go to college. I would just work here and move up. And then I told him, I don't remember, I think it was more I was thinking this. I don't think I blatantly said this to him, but I was like, well, you know what, he was an immigrant, but he became an American eventually. But I'm saying he was an immigrant. And I was just telling him, like, you know, most immigrants I know, whether they're Arab or Pakistani or Asian, they never tell their kids not to go to college. And I was young in my 20s then, so I was like, I know you wouldn't tell your kid not to go to college. But looking back, I will say it was one of the biggest mistakes I ever made, because I had already started. I bought my first house. I was already starting to invest. So when I look back at it, I should have stayed in that job, because I could never get back in corporate America what I was making there. And that was a shame, because I went into debt and getting a degree and wasting all those years in college. And I never got back to this income. And then my coworkers, because I keep up with them still to this day, some of them are at 200 grand now a year being GMs for this restaurant. So, let's get back on track before I go on another rant. So I met a guy a few days ago that was doing garage door repairs, and he said he's averaging about 80 to 120K. But of course, on average, they're around 50 to 100K job, unless, like I said, you got a lot of customers in you know, you built a bigger business, and yeah, you can get over that. But for the most part, that's what they're around. We have gas plants here in Texas. We're a big oil and gas area as well. So there's some gas plants. They're very dangerous jobs as well, because every so often, in a couple of years, our plants do explode. We have plant explosions, and if sometimes no one is injured, and then sometimes 1 to 5, 10 people may be injured or they die from the explosion. But these jobs pay between 40 to 100K, 120K. And I believe most of these jobs only need like a certification, OSHA, and some other ones. I can't remember all of them, because I'm not, you know, in that industry. But of course, you can look up the job and just apply, and they're going to tell you what you need, or they're going to train you on a job. But I know we do have a lot of people who work there that don't have college degrees, that like they're able to get a job with just high school diplomas and certifications, and they're making good money. Elevator repair, I believe that's a union job. It's not easy to get into them. It's not hard, but it's not easy. I think you got to know someone. But a guy that that I knew and my friend knew, he was making about 80K a year, but he got in through his dad, and they've been in the business. I think his dad been in the business, of course, most of his life, or his whole life, so almost 40 years. And then the son followed behind him. He was making about 80K a year. But I heard it wasn't easy to just get into, because you got to know someone in those kind of union jobs, or it's just, you just got to be lucky to just break in. Insurance adjusters, there's car insurance, and then there's catastrophic, like during the time where we have our hurricane season in Florida and Texas. There's these schools for insurance adjusters, and you can make during the season because you're going to so many homes and writing up so many reports. One guy said they were making like 500 to 2,000 a day during this time. And it goes on. And even though the hurricane's over, because you have to visit so many houses, the work can last up to 6 months. So you're making 50 to 80 grand in 6 months. Septic tank and porta potties. Okay, that's the shitty job. I know nobody wants those shitty jobs, but hey, somebody has to do it. And those jobs are also, you know, a job you don't need a degree for, and they are pretty, you know, they pay pretty good. You can make anywhere the same between that 50 to 80K a year, unless you have, like I said, a lot of customers, and then you can get over that, or you own your own business, you can get over that. And then I talk about in another video a guy who was in his 50s, I believe, and he said he's never made over, I think, 50 grand a year in his life. And then he got into the cement business. And when he got into the cement business, he was making $400,000 a year. And he said he was debt free because when he got into the cement business, I think he just had to buy a little bit of equipment for, let's say, up to 10, 20, 30 grand or something. And after that, once he started making income, that was paid for. So he literally had a cash flowing business once he did that. So those are some jobs that you can do without a college degree. Of course, there's tons more, and there's personal shopping, there's dog walking, there's gig work, there's a lot of jobs. But here's the thing I wanted to share with you guys. So we already went over the cost of getting these degrees. These degrees take 4 to 10 years out of your life. They cost anywhere between $20,000 to $100,000 to get, depending on what school you go to and the cost of going to school. They take time away from your family. You lose a lot of time away from your family. You're not able to work a second job because you're in school. Once you work your day job, then you're probably in school at night or on the weekends or taking online classes. So that takes time away from you doing maybe a 15, 20, 30 hour a week extra job. It also, you're unsure if you're going to find a job. Once you get that degree, you got to go out and try to find a job. And I know from my experience, when I tried to find a job, they were like, well, you don't have any experience in this industry. You have experience in another industry, you have plenty of experience there, but you don't have experience in this industry that you're applying for. So we cannot hire you, or if we do hire, we're going to start you off at this really low rate that you can't even barely live off of. So when you're just unsure when you get that degree whether or not you're going to be able to find a job. And then you hear about a lot of people, they'll get a degree in one thing and they'll end up working in another field. And that's because they can't find the job in the field they want to go into, or they just don't have the experience, and no companies are willing to hire them and train them. So the companies that are hiring them and hiring them are looking for people who already have experience in that field. So they don't qualify. When you go and get a college degree and you work for corporations, you're just not sure how much they're going to start you at and what you're going to make. In a sense, I mean, you know what they're going to give you once they offer you a salary, but I'm saying you don't know that until you go apply for that job. Then when you apply for that job, you got to rely on them giving you raises every year. So, you don't know what they're going to give you as far as a raise every year. You don't know if they're going to give you bonuses or not. You just don't know. You just know that it's only whatever they offered you at that initial interview as your starting salary. So you kind of don't know what your future holds. You don't know if they're going to let you move up to management. You don't know. Even if you work hard, you don't know if you're going to ever make management, right? You go into an extreme amount of debt. And when you go into debt, you owe a crap load of interest on that student loan that you took out. So in my opinion, all of these are cons. They're just not worth, if I had to go back and do it, going to school if I knew what I knew today. I get education through plenty of other ways, and it wouldn't have cost me 30 to 100 grand, right? I can learn so many ways because I love to read and I travel, and I learn through doing anyway. And I feel like a lot of these jobs, they try to make you go and get all these degrees, all this training, and it's like, I can get all the training and all the degrees, but I need to actually do this work so I can learn it. When you do the work, that's how you learn the work. I think college does help when you go and read books and be around other people who know the industry. I think you learn like the theory of how stuff works, but you gotta do the work to learn the skill. Like, it helps a lot, right? So I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense to keep going to college and giving them all this money, and all they're doing is raising the prices on you every year. You can't keep up. The wages aren't keeping up with inflation, and you wasted 4 to 10 years of your life and time from your family, and time that you could have been, those same 4 to 10 years, you could have been learning a new business, looking for businesses that were for sale, and buying businesses. A lot of people don't realize a lot of businesses that you see that are successful were bought. So like Warren Buffett, the richest man in the world, he is known to buy businesses, not start businesses. McDonald's was bought, KFC was bought. That's how we have so many of them around our country these days, because those were companies that were started by an individual or two people or a couple or whatever, and then eventually someone else came in and bought them up. So if you look at a lot of companies, there's more. I can't name them all right off the top of my head in this video, but a lot of companies are bought and grown. They're not started and grown. I mean, they're started by like someone in smaller individually, but that person who started it usually doesn't have the same business. They call it like they can start the business, but they can't grow it. Even like the McDonald's brothers, like they were so limited. When you read the story or hear the story, they just wanted to stay in a little small town. They couldn't think globally or nationally. They couldn't think outside of their town, their rural. I don't even know if they grew up in a rural town, but I know they grew up in like a town where everybody kind of knew them, and they couldn't think further than that. But I think his name is Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc traveled around the world, so he before the internet, in even the stuff they show, even TV was a little limited back then. But before the internet, people didn't know there was these other. They knew states existed, cities existed, towns existed, but they didn't leave their area really that much to go explore those towns, right? They didn't know what Singapore looked like. They didn't know what Canada looks like. They didn't know, I mean, besides what they read in a book or maybe saw on a television show. But I'm saying they didn't leave their area. So when Ray Kroc came in, I believe that's his name, hopefully I'm not messing up his name, but I believe it was Ray Kroc who brought it from the McDonald's brothers. When he came in, he was already a traveling salesman. So he got to go to all these states, and he started already seeing in his mind, oh my God, if I could duplicate this, I could take it to this state and just duplicate it, take it here and duplicate. Oh my God, it's going to grow so fast, you know? So all those 4 to 10 years that you were spending trying to go to school, you could have already bought a business or started a business. You know how they say it takes, sometimes people, it takes you, you may have to start 10 businesses, and out of 10, maybe 9 will work. I mean, sorry. You may fail 10 times, and out of those 10 times, one business may take off and work for you. Well, you have time in that time frame to fail and keep trying, right? But if you're taking up all your time in school and then you're getting out and you don't even know what you're going to be paid, you might even be paid less than you were making at the job where you didn't even have a bachelor's degree. That is happening to people. You find people with PhDs and masters, and they are working less paying jobs than, you know, somebody who didn't have the degree. I remember when I got out of college, my coworker, she had 3 or 5 years of admin experience on me, and the only difference was she made $1 less than me. And I knew because I did the accounting work at the office. Well, eventually I started as admin, but I'm saying I eventually moved to the accounting department. And she made $1. So all I had to do was go get the training and just work my way up in a company, and I would have been at the same income I was at. I never had to go to college. You know, and I think college is great for networking and things like that, but income wise, it's not for the poor. I just think that the poor, I'm saying today it's not worth it. I'm not saying back then it wasn't, because like I said, I have more access to resources and education without going to college. But, you know, if I don't have access to these books and these resources I have today, yeah, I would not be able to learn the information I know today. But because we have so many other ways to learn, this $50,000, $30,000 to $100,000 investment doesn't seem like a good investment to me anymore. Because you can learn now other ways. Because really all you do in college is pick up a book and open it and study for a test, basically. But the networking part of college is pretty good. I also remember when I was going to college, I would go to career fairs, and I would be applying for the last 2 years of my college, and I didn't even get an interview. That's another thing I forgot to tell you guys in that other video I made. I think Nothing to Lose. I think that's the video. Because anyway, so the time frame that you spent going to college, you lost 4 to 10 years of your life getting a bachelor's, a master's, or a PhD. Now I'm going to show you guys what would have happened if you did not go to college and you got one of those jobs that I just told you about. Now we can work these numbers all kinds of ways, but I need a starting point. So I'm going to just use the numbers I came up with and go over those with you. Now, if you want to adjust this number up or adjust it down based on your situation, you just do that. That's all you do. But I need a starting point because I need to be able to share this information to you. In that time frame, if I could have done it over, I would have looked for a business to buy or start. Number one. Because I'm not in any student loan debt, with one of those jobs I just named, if I were to go get those jobs or stayed at the restaurant making the money I was making, all I had to do was go to the bank if I did need a loan, a business loan, even though I try not to do it with loans. But if I did need a business loans or credit, I wouldn't have had as much debt because I wouldn't have had all the student loans. So therefore I wouldn't have, any debt. So it should be fairly easy with a job in a decent credit score, build up a decent credit score for me to go now and take out a loan to start a business if I needed to. Or I could just use my own money and start a business, just save up my money and start a business. And I made that, if you watch my video, how to invest $100, in that video, I talk about how you can save up your money and start a business without the debt. But like I said, if you need the debt to start up certain types of businesses, then now, because you don't have that $30,000 to $100,000 student loan debt, the bank is probably more willing to give you some money. But when you come to the bank with already $30,000 to $100,000 in debt, sometimes it's harder to get the business loans, okay? Because you're in so much debt. But anyway, let's say you make a salary of $50,000, either working as a server, working as an auto mechanic, a plumber, whatever job I just named. You're making $50,000 a year. Because you don't have any debt, if you're able to save $25,000 of that for 2 years, that is going to put you at $50,000, right? $25,000 in 2 years. If you're not able to save $25,000 in 2 years and live on less than you make, that's okay. It may take you 3 to 5 years to save 50 grand. Regardless, let's just say you have 50 grand and now you put it into an equity fund, like an index fund, a mutual fund. So in 10 years, okay, so you put the 50 grand in, and let's just say after that, you only add $200 a month to your portfolio, right? You can add more, you can add less. But let's just say for a starting point, you put in 50 grand. Then you add $200 a month to that. Well, in 10 years, you're gonna have $160,000. Now remember, that same 10 years, you just acquired $30,000 to $100,000 in debt for that degree. You're going to actually in 10 years now have $160,000. That is going to generate a passive income stream of either dividends or interest. That's going to give you around $12,000 a year to live off of. Now, is that a lot of money? Not a lot of money to live off of, but it gives you some money. So now you have money. You have $160,000 saved, and now you have $12,000 coming to you a year. The other way you did it, you went to college, you went in debt. Now you're scrambling trying to pay that debt, and you have no money coming to you. I mean, you have your college degree, and you may or may not have a job at that point. I don't know how much you're going to make, but now you have money coming to you. So instead of spending 10 years sacrificing trying to get that degree and going into debt, you now have $160,000 plus passive income of $12,000 coming in. Because if you go and get that debt, now you lost 10 years in the workforce, 4 to 10 years, depending on how long it took you. You lost that in the workforce, and then you lose another 10 years of your income trying to pay that student loan off. So it makes no sense. You almost lost 15, 20 years of your life trying to get out of debt for the student loan, plus not being able to start a business or take on a second job in that 10-year period because you were in school. 4 to 10 year period because you were in school. So in 10 years, you're going to have $160,000, $12,000 to live off of. In 15 years, you're going to have $280,000 and $22,000 a year in passive income off that portfolio to live off of. In 20 years, you're going to have $500,000 and $40,000 in passive income to live off of. In 30 years, you're going to have $1.5 million and $120,000 to live off of. So guys, what I'm trying to tell you is when you went to school, you were losing money, you're losing time. And then once you finish that degree and you go get that corporate job or that job, you still have to turn around in order to retire or get out of working for that job. You still have to do what I just told you to do. You have to save and invest this money. So you might say to yourself, well, yeah, but I got a college degree and now I'm making, instead of making 50 grand, I make 100. You may, but remember the IRS is going to want 20,000 of that, 30,000 of that, because you're going to move up into a different tax bracket. And then you may say, well, yeah, but I have this job and it's paying me more than that job, more than the job you just talked about. You do, but now you're in so much debt, you can't go back and you lost, like, it's called the time value of money. You lost all that time. You lost 10, 20 years of your life trying and not saving and investing. So when you get burnt out on that job, you now lost 10 or 20 years. You could have had money for yourself to get out of a job you hated, or move to a country you wanted to move to, or travel, or do whatever you want to do. Or if you're laid off, you don't have that money now. Whereas if you do it the way I'm trying to teach you, you're going to have that money and you never have to go into that debt. It's a lot to explain. I know I'm going to be making some more content for you guys. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say, and just test it out yourself. Just do the numbers yourself. Write down, okay, how much is it going to cost me to go get this degree? How much time am I going to lose? If I make 50 grand now and this degree is going to pay me 80 grand, okay, now I can make 80 grand in 4 to 5 years or 10 years. But then how much taxes is going to be taken out of that money? So when you see how much money you're left with in its sacrifice of these 5 or 10 years, you're going to say to yourself, was it worth it to go get that? It may be worth it. It may not be worth it. I don't know. You got to do the math. You got to do the time calculations. But I'm saying to you, especially people who grew up in the situation I grew up in and grew up in poverty, I'm saying to you, it may not be worth it for certain people in certain economic conditions and backgrounds to go this route. It might actually be costing us more money and time, when all we had to do was go and start investing. Because I know for a fact the majority, they said 80% of Americans hate their job. That is a research that has been done on 80% of people, if they could get out of their job or get out, they would get out if they had a way. So even if you love your job today, you're like, hey, I want to go to college because I want to be this, I want to be that. And you may want to be it, but give it 20 years into it, 10 years into it, 15 years into it. The joy is gone and you have no way out. You're stuck, you're trapped. All right, guys, I'm gonna work on some more content for you guys because I want you guys to have this knowledge and so that you can make an informed decision. I think it's really helpful to people who are struggling right now to know what to do. And I just want to continue to add value to your life as far as giving you this information. And I want to thank you guys for being a part of this channel. If you want to join the Escapee movement, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And I will be uploading some videos weekly for you guys to help you. And if you want to book a consultation, just email me and I'll be happy to help you. Thank you so much for watching.